I don't know how to do it. We might need to change here. Anything exciting different?
Start somewhat like usual. All the order, roll call, pledge, entrance statements, we'll do the oaths, election of officers, appointments.
Keyboard for that.
Say a lot of finance meeting.
Detach it.
There's nothing on there. I thought it was my laptop.
I didn't either.
There you go.
You all ready?
Yes.
All right, 5 o'clock, we will call this meeting to order, our school board reorganization meeting. Let the record show that all members are present. At this time, we will stand and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So this is kind of an abbreviated meeting. So our next thing to go for is if we have any patron statements related to our agenda topics. No? All right. We'll move on to the oath of office for our new and re-elected members.
Okay, if you three would stand, please. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Last chance. I'm just kidding. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body, so help me God.
as a member of this governing body, so help me God.
I also pledge
I also pledge
that I will adhere to the code of ethics
that I will adhere to the code of ethics
of school board members as adopted by the Indiana School Board Association.
of school board members as adopted by the Indiana School Boards Association.
I gave you a script, guys. Congratulations.
Yes. All right. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. All right, our next topic on the agenda is the election of officers for 2025. So we need to do nominations, right? So at this point, I would entertain nominations for president of the board.
If you so will, I will nominate Scott as to be president again.
I'll accept that. Do we have any other nominations? So can we get, wait a minute a second. Is that everything good?
I don't think we need a second, we just.
Just move the vote.
Close the nominations and then vote.
Okay, at this point, we'll close the nominations. All in favor of Scott Arthur to serve as board president, raise your right hand. 7-0. All right. Vice president of the board, do you have any nominations for that?
I'd like to nominate Ted Hendrick.
Will you accept the nomination? All right. Do we have any other nominations? If not, we will close those nominations. All in favor of Tim Hedrick as vice president, raise your right hand. 7-0. Secretary of the board, any nominations?
I would like to nominate Sarah Browning, if she would accept that.
She accepts. Any other nominations? And all speak at once. All right, we'll close those nominations. All in favor of Sarah Browning as secretary, raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay, at this point, we have the president of the Board of Finance and the secretary of the Board of Finance. Do we need to do those separately, or can we just?
Yeah, we probably should keep those
Okay.
separate.
All right. Typically, that follows the board president and the board secretary, but if anybody would like to be the president of the Board of Finance, we would take a nomination for that.
Can't break customs, so I would nominate Scott as president of the Board of Finance.
All right, I'll accept. Anybody else? Nominations closed. All in favor? 7-0. You gotta pay attention, bro.
I know. Trying to multitask here.
You don't get to sit and watch anymore. You gotta wait. All right, moving on. Secretary of Board of Finance, any nominations? There, you accept? All right, close the nominations. All in favor of Sarah Browning as Secretary of Board of Finance? 7-0. Thank you all. We have our slate officers for 2025. This time we will make some appointments. You recommend those or?
Yeah, if everybody's fine, I'll just make a recommendation for all of those.
Does that work for everybody? You've all got in
Yep.
front of you, kind of what the fun is. Yep.
So, something that we just have to do annually, I am recommending that Carrie Alford serve as our treasurer, Andrea Martin as the assistant treasurer, and the superintendent will represent the school district and the Twin Rivers Vocational Co-op, the Davies Martin Special Education Co-op, and the Educational Service Centers Risk Fund Trust, SCRAP, which is our liability insurance program.
Okay, I have a recommendation to approve those three appointments. I have a motion for that from Mr. Elmer, a second from Mr. Cornelius. Any questions or comments? Not, all in favor? 7-0. Set the regular meeting date and time. Traditionally, it's been the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. We do make adjustments as needed, obviously, because we're here at 5 o'clock today. Does anybody have any suggestions to change, or everybody good with that? Do we need to vote for that, or we good?
I think we're good. And then just to note that next week, our January regular board meeting, we're going to start at 6 o'clock as a special exception with a ball game that night, and we'll conduct our business and be able to finish up to get to the ball game.
And that's just the regular meetings. We do have other meetings, as we've all learned. Okay. At this time, I think we pause our regular board meeting to open a Board of Finance meeting.
Yes.
And I'll turn that over to Mr. Frank.
So first item is interest income for 2024, and the document, kind of the data sheet that I provided you, has that at the bottom. Just a 6-year run to kind of give you a sense of what that looks like. So 2024 was the strongest year in terms of interest over the last 6 years, at that coming in at $554,443.85. That basically becomes revenue that goes towards the operations account. And so, that becomes helpful because operations account is an account that Washington doesn't get fully funded because of the tax caps. We'll have to see, with the interest rates, if that's something that will be sustained like that going into 2025. And then with the other indicators, so we look at our ADM, average daily membership, our enrollment. So I took that back to the 2019-2020 school year just to kind of give you a sense of the trend. Coming out of COVID, we did take a dip down to about 2,400 students. We've slowly grown that up. From last year to this current school year, we did grow by 9 students. So our increase did shrink some, where we were, growing by almost, I think from 22-23 to last year, it was, almost 80 students. So, I think that's something as we go into the 2025 school year and enter the 25-26 school year, that'll be something to watch to see if we're kind of reaching maybe a little bit of a tipping point, or if we can continue to grow that, hopefully. And then the year-end cash balances. So we look at education, operations, and rainy day. and providing you with just a 3-year span to give you a sense of what those look like. So with our education account, something to note with that one, the state is having all school districts do away with the textbook rental account, since now we do not charge students any sort of textbook fee. And so the cash balance of that account is to be moved into the education account as of January 1. And so we did gain about $409,000 there. So when you keep that in mind, when you compare our education account balance to the end of last year, we're down by about a little over $500,000. So that's something that Carrie and I are going to monitor. Things like maintaining some of our ESSER funded positions, some of the pay raises we provided during this school year. We're going to just have to monitor and see how we go. And just, a lot of it's managing our staff, class sizes and things like that to control the education account. Operations, over its 3-year span, does provide a little bit of a trend of going down. Main part of that is some of the funds that we've used towards the Hatchet Hollow project. As Carrie and I talk and plan, that's one that we'd like to keep at least $1 million cash balance. I think going into this year, we just passed the 2024 GEO bond. We may have another larger bond and some projects coming. Would say that's going to be our focus. The operations does a lot with our facilities on a lot of those have to type projects, to keep HVAC going or plumbing and, things that we all have to do around our house when something breaks. That's really going to probably be the focus for this year. I think I shared with you in a memo, we did some concrete work out there on the north side of the Hatchet House. We want to do the other entrance to that this summer. The high school auditorium and the lighting in there, it seems like is getting dimmer and dimmer. We've got to do something in there. I think that's becoming kind of a have to. But I think for 25, we're just going to have to kind of scrutinize and make sure we're maintaining and using our operations account wisely. Kind of the same story a little bit with rainy day. That was something that had been built up over many years where Dr. Roach and Carrie really didn't touch probably for multiple years to grow it to that $2.5 million amount at the end of 22. But, that was kind of something that was strategic and intentional to give the district money to do a project like Hatchet Hollow. And that's why there was that decrease from 22 to 23. I think we've been 23 in the last year doing some projects. And again, I think kind of the mindset or philosophy going into the 2025 is to try to protect that as much as we can and maybe not do as many of the, again, it's smaller projects that are kind of in that $20,000 to $50,000 range that are probably things that we can put off a year or two until we grow that rainy day fund up to a better spot. Anybody have any questions on any of the indicators?
Just a question on interest. Why are we seeing a almost $200,000 increase on interest? Where's that? How's that attributed?
Interest rate.
Interest.
Just strictly a rate thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, a little bit of that is a practice where we use, Carrie, can you explain? You'll be able to explain it. I don't want to mess anything up on the temporary loans.
Yeah. So every year, way before Carrie, we've done a $4 million cash flow loan. We started that back whenever we didn't have cash balances like we do now. And so we take that out in January, we pay it back in December. And the idea is you have expenses in the operations fund from January through June, but you don't get your first payment from your property tax dollars until June. So the cash flow loan just helps us to be able to make all those payments. Like, I just had to write a check for $300 and something thousand for a property casualty that's due in January. But again, I don't get funding for operations until June. So that $4 million because we have cash balances, it's not, we don't really use it regularly, but it's there. We're earning interest, and especially this year with rates as high as they were, it was profitable to have that $4 million cash flow loan because it was just sitting in our money market account earning interest. The legislature though changed last year. They said now that those cash flow loans, the revenue, it was always just something that I certified as an estimate. Now they've changed it that the auditor of the county has to certify our revenue. So with Ice Miller, we've been talking to her. She of course didn't really know that that was a regulation because no one had asked her or said anything to her about it. So she's working on what she needs to do to get that. So there's a chance that won't happen this year, that we won't be able to do that $4 million cash flow loan. That's still kind of up in the air, but that's something that's going to be significant. And two, if interest rates drop, that's why I always put that money into the operations fund to help offset the circuit breaker loss. But it's not something that we ever count on or budget for because rates are just so all over the place and we just don't know. There's so many things that go into that to affect what that interest is going to be. So anyway, that's the long and short of it.
I else have any other questions? If not, we will end our Board of Finance meeting, move back into our regular meeting. Do we need to do somebody wants to talk? Non-agenda topic, patron statements, right?
Yeah, at the end, yeah. That's all.
Yep. So, at this time, we would entertain any non-agenda topic patron statements. Anybody want to talk about that? All right. If not, do you have any other, Mr. Frank?
One thing I would say is, just wanted to give a public thank you to a lot of different people that helped us get to school today. We had Mayor Road stepped up and we had city trucks helping us file primary and some of those side roads over there that make it really, with the Business 50 construction, necessary for us to have some of those smaller roads open, and they had city trucks running through there yesterday. Kevin Byer, our transportation director, was in contact with the county road superintendent, and I don't know if anybody lives out by Beale, but they literally had a huge excavator with a scraper working Troy Road yesterday because we told them Troy Road and that 450 that Beale sits on, those were kind of what we were waiting on, and they stepped up and they got the job done. I think we lucked out with some sun yesterday. And then I want to give credit to Memmering Farms, provided some of their machinery to work some of the ice off the parking lots, and our crews, the Sodexo guys, Travis and Clay and everybody that works under them. I mean, I've spent countless hours really starting Sunday afternoon to clean off sidewalks and parking lots and stuff, and just a lot of hands and collaboration went into getting us here today. And I don't think we're going to be in school tomorrow because of the forecast, and that seems to be, they seem to be pretty confident that it's going to be snowing at the times that we would need to have buses on the road. So there'll probably be an announcement here shortly. But no, it's just awesome to see the community support for Washington Community Schools to get us to school, and everything that I've heard is the buses went pretty well in terms of navigating the roads and all that, and I think the parents pick up and drop offs went as good as they could go. So
we've used our 3 e-learning days. We're out of those.
So we're done with e-learning days. Tomorrow will be a makeup day on January 20th.
We got 3 of those built in, or 4?
We have 4.
4 of those built
Before
in.
commencement.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in too, on what you said about, I mean, it was a huge effort. There's a lot of guys that spent a lot of time, making sure that happened so that, we could get those kids back. I think that was, pretty important for a lot of reasons. E-learning's great, but, face to face with those teachers and getting some materials they needed or whatever. Really proud of the effort of our community, our corporation and everyone, to make that happen. It was, if you start adding up the amount of parking lot space and sidewalks and everything that those guys have to deal with when you get snow like that, it's a pretty big task. So, and David and Kevin did a great job scouting the roads and finding those problems and figuring out how to work with them. And it's just, pretty impressive, I think, for a 2,500 kid school district to be one of the first in our area getting back to school. All right, and they'll also want to welcome Mr. McCormick
Thank you.
to the board. Look forward to working with you. Welcome back. Two other victims decided to try again, Mr. Hedrick and Mr. Fernandez. All right. If nobody has anything else at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. From Mr. Hedrick, second from Mr. Miller. All in favor? 7-0. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
I saw Jerry at the.
I will take that one from you once you're signed.